The morning light creeps through the kitchen blinds, slicing the room into soft gold and shadow. Luke, 19, stares at the bank statement in his trembling hand. Numbers drained to zero. Dreams evaporated in cold ink. Behind him, laughter echoes. His sister, Emily, twirling in a magazine, a seamstress measuring silk for her debutante gown. Their mother claps her hands. Her father signs another check, proud and blind. Luke's throat burns as he whispers, "That was my future." No one hears. The clinking of champagne glasses drowns his voice. The air smells of sugar and betrayal. As the dress takes shape, so does the fracture. Thin, invisible, deadly. The narration fades with a quiet thought. Some debts aren't measured in money. They bleed in silence. Dinner burns cold before it's even served. Luke sits opposite his parents, the dress gleaming in a garment bag by the window. "You sold my future for her fantasy," he says. The father's jaw tightens. The mother avoids his eyes. Emily, tearful but proud, whispers, "It's not just a dress." Luke stands, chair scraping like thunder. "No," he says, voice low, "it's the price tag on everything you took from me." The silence that follows is absolute, a fragile kingdom collapsing in one breath. Later that night, Emily knocks softly at Luke's door. He doesn't turn. She sits on the floor, knees drawn up, the sound of crickets filling the gap between them. "I thought it would make them proud," she says. He finally looks at her, eyes dimmed. "And did it?" She nods once, tears shimmering. Then it cost exactly what it should. The door closes between them with a whisper of finality. The next morning, Luke packs his duffel bag. The walls of his room, photos, medals, trophies, dissolve into ghosts. His mother watches from the doorway, speechless. He pauses, holding one photograph, him and Emily at a science fair. He slips it into his pocket. "Don't wait up," he says, not looking back. The door shuts. Silence takes the house like a storm passing through glass. Weeks later, a ballroom glows with chandeliers and orchestral strings. Emily descends marble steps in her finished gown, ivory silk blooming under gold light. Applause swells. Outside, Luke watches through the glass. Rain streaking down like the world's tears. For a moment, he almost smiles. Not in forgiveness, but in farewell. In that instant, revenge is born. Quiet, patient, inevitable. 3 years later, the world feels smaller, compressed between deadlines and engine grease. Luke works under flickering shop lights, sleeves rolled up, hands blackened by oil and time. The clang of tools replaces laughter. The hum of engines replaces music. Every spark of a welder's torch feels like a heartbeat trying to escape. "You learn to live without dreams," he says in voiceover, "but not without memory." His reflection in the cracked mirror, older, leaner, harder, studies him back with quiet accusation. He wipes sweat from his brow, exhales, and returns to the machine, because silence pays the rent better than hope. The morning news hums from a dusty radio perched on a toolbox. Socialite Emily Hart announces engagement to businessman Daniel Crane. The anchor says. Luke freezes mid-turn of a wrench. The name echoes in the shop's hollow air. A coworker laughs. "That her? The one in the fancy dress?" Luke doesn't answer. The world tilts slightly off-axis. That name, Crane, lands heavy, like a warning he can't yet read. That night, Luke's co-worker Benny leans against a workbench, cigarette smoke curling between shadows. "Crane." Benny scoffs. "Man's got dirt under every diamond he owns. Offshore deals, fake charities, even whispers about missing ledgers." Luke listens, motionless. The old rage flickers alive, faint but fierce. "Maybe it's just gossip," he says. Benny shrugs. "Yeah, maybe. But sometimes gossip's just the truth with a hangover." Luke stares at the rising smoke, a ghost of everything he lost. The next days bleed together. Luke by night, searching online records at the library, scanning headlines, tracking Crane's business filings, receipts, wire transfers, offshore accounts. Patterns emerge like stitches in a wound reopening. His fingers trace the lines on the screen. Each click another pulse of purpose. Revenge, he murmurs, isn't about hate. It's about math. Everything adds up eventually. Scrolling through a society page, Luke stops cold. Emily, older now, posture regal, smiles at a gala beside Crane. But what freezes him isn't her expression. It's the dress. The same ivory silk, altered into darker tones, but unmistakable. The threads shimmer like ghosts under the flash. The same dress that ended everything is back, haunting him through pixels and light. You kept it, he whispers. You wore my future again. Rain slicks the cracked asphalt as Luke returns to his old neighborhood for the first time in years. The streetlights hum like ghosts remembering better nights. He parks by the curb outside his childhood home. Windows dark, the world smaller than memory made it. Every raindrop carries an echo. Laughter, arguments, the hiss of silk being cut. Funny, he murmurs. How some places rot faster than the people who left them. His reflection in the puddle fractures as thunder rolls. He isn't there to visit. He is there to dig. Inside, the house smells of wilted flowers and unpaid bills. His mother answers the door slower, smaller than he remembers, face lined by guilt more than age. Luke, she says softly, as though the name still hurts. He steps inside, the sound of rain following him like accusation. Over lukewarm tea, she admits the truth in pieces. Crane funded Emily's dress, the family's debts, even their mortgage. We thought it was kindness, she says, eyes wet. But kindness doesn't come with interest. Luke nods, silent, storm still raging behind his eyes. Luke's investigation leads him to a charity warehouse on the edge of town, the Crane Initiative. Through grimy windows, he sees racks of dresses tagged for auction. There, beneath a spotlight, hangs Emily's gown. Same stitching, same hemline, different world. His breath fogs the glass. The tag reads, Lot hash 19. Private donor. DC beneath the tag. Faint embroidery catches the light. Initials EH sewn into the silk. You never let go, he whispers. 2 nights later, Luke slips into a downtown charity gala under a borrowed waiter's uniform. Silver trays glint, violins hum. Crane laughs among his guests, flawless and hollow. Luke moves between tables like smoke, eyes locked on the dress displayed near the auction stage. Emily stands beside it, smile too rehearsed, eyes too tired. You don't belong here, a guard murmurs. Luke smirks faintly. Neither does the truth. The auction begins. Luke watches from the service corridor as the dress is lifted under the spotlight. Camera flashes pulse like gunfire. Crane shakes hands with a man whose cufflinks bear a bank's insignia. Documents exchange in an envelope, subtle, practiced. Luke records everything on his phone. The gestures, the timing, the silent nods. Every empire, his voiceover murmurs, is stitched together by the same thread, greed. When he turns away, his reflection in the steel elevator door looks older than his years. Luke's apartment is a shrine to evidence. Photos pinned to walls, receipts spread like confession notes. The hum of his computer fills the silence as he organizes everything. Timestamps, wire transfers, Crane's shell companies. The footage from the gala plays on loop, each frame another nail in a coffin still being built. Truth, he murmurs, isn't what you find. It's what you prove. The camera pans across the chaos. Strings, connecting faces, names and numbers. Beneath a single bulb, the dress dominates every image. Revenge now is methodical. It breathes. He meets Maya, an old friend turned legal aid in a dim cafe. She studies his evidence with sharp eyes and soft concern. "You've got a case," she says quietly, "but without testimony. It's your word against his empire." Luke nods, fingers tapping the table. "Then he'll find someone who can't lie anymore." Maya looks up, realizing what he means. "Emily." He doesn't answer, just stands, and leaves the folder behind, the rain outside swallowing his reflection. In Crane's mansion, Emily's smile has become porcelain. She gazes at herself in the mirror, the same gown now dulled with dust and dread. Crane enters, adjusting his cufflinks, voice sugar-coated with control. "You'll wear it again tomorrow," he says. She nods, eyes hollow. When he leaves, her hand trembles against the silk. A prisoner tracing her cage. Outside, through the window's reflection, lightning flickers. Somewhere out there, her brother is coming. The confrontation happens in the garden behind the mansion. Rain again, softer now, almost cleansing. Luke steps from the shadows, voice steady. "He's using you, Amen. He used all of us." She stares at him, disbelief and fear twisting into guilt. "You think I don't know," she whispers. "I see it every time I look at that dress." The storm builds around them, thunder echoing old pain. "Then help me end it," Luke says. The silence that follows isn't hesitation, it's surrender. Back inside, Emily unzips the back of the dress, hands trembling. Hidden beneath the lining, thin envelopes, tiny ledgers, transaction slips. "He thought I didn't know," she whispers. Luke steps closer, voice breaking. "You kept it all this time." She presses the fabric into his hands. "It's all there," she says. Every lie, every dollar, every name. As she meets his eyes, the faintest smile flickers. Not joy, but release. The dress, once her dream, now bleeds truth under her fingertips. The courthouse rises like stone judgment beneath a gray morning sky. Luke stands at the steps, the dress sealed in a transparent evidence bag clutched to his chest. Reporters swarm, cameras flashing. The storm now public, unstoppable. "You sure about this?" Maya asks. Luke nods once. "This isn't revenge anymore," he murmurs. "It's reckoning." As they walk inside, the marble halls echo with the sound of shoes and ghosts. The dress, once a dream, is now the blade of truth. Inside the forensic lab, sterile lights hum over the table where the dress lies flat. Technicians in gloves scan the fibers, each thread revealing secrets. Traces of foreign soil, micro-residue from bank vault linen, metallic dust from coded safes. "Every stitch tells a story," says the examiner. Luke watches silently as science translates guilt into evidence. The dress, once worn in vanity, now testifies in truth, its shimmer replaced by revelation. The trial begins. Crane sits at the defense table, immaculate as ever, smirk carved into marble. Across from him, Emily takes the witness stand, trembling under the weight of her own history. Luke sits behind her, silent support in human form. "Do you recognize this item?" the prosecutor asks. Emily nods, eyes glistening. "It's the dress," she says. "The one I wore when everything began, and everything ended." The courtroom murmurs, a whisper of shock and pity. Crane's defense attorney leans forward, sharp and venomous. "As so your brother, the mechanic, just happened to uncover a multinational conspiracy." He sneers. Luke's jaw tightens. Maya squeezes his hand. "Mr. Hart has a history of resentment toward his family," the attorney continues. Luke rises, voice steady but cold. "Resentment is surviving what they destroyed." The courtroom stills. For the first time, Crane looks uncertain. The dress gleams faintly in its case, as though listening. The final day. The prosecutor unveils the dress under perfect light. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Its golden threads shimmer, but within them glint hidden microdrives, forensic labels, invisible seams of truth. This, the prosecutor declares, isn't fashion. It's evidence. Crane's composure cracks. Emily weeps silently. Luke closes his eyes. The camera pans over faces. Disbelief, fear, vindication, before landing on the dress, resting beneath the spotlight. What once symbolized envy now burns as justice incarnate. Testimonies pour out like threads snapping one by one. Accountants, designers, and ex-employees take the stand, each revealing another stitch in Crane's tapestry of fraud. Luke listens from the gallery. Still, steady, but inside every word feels like a ghost being freed. The prosecutor's voice cuts sharp through the air. Mr. Crane's empire wasn't built on wealth. It was built on deception. Luke glances at Emily, whose hands shake under the weight of her own truth. The camera lingers on their eyes, two survivors from the same wound, now bleeding toward redemption. Under cross-examination, Luke's mother breaks. Her voice trembles as she admits to signing papers she never read, laundering money through the dressmaker's accounts. "I thought I was protecting us," she cries. Luke's eyes well, but he doesn't move. The silence after her words weighs heavier than accusation. In that instant, guilt becomes inheritance, passed from parent to child like a scar. Emily takes the stand again. Her voice breaks only once. "He told me the dress made me untouchable," she says, eyes locked on Crane. "But it made me his possession." Gasps ripple through the room. She describes how Crane hid microledgers inside the hem, transporting financial data across borders, disguised as Coucher. The judge leans forward, stunned. "The evidence was sewn into the dress," she finishes, voice steady now. Luke exhales for the first time in years. The verdict comes faster than anyone expected. Guilty. On all counts. Crane's face drains of color, his empire collapsing in silence. Outside, reporters flood the steps again, their shouts a chorus of justice. Emily, escorted out in tears, stops beside Luke. "You were right," she says softly. "It wasn't hate that brought you here." Luke nods, voice low. "No, it was what was left after hate." The flashbulbs flare like lightning, capturing the moment truth finally caught up. That evening, the courthouse empties. Luke stands alone in the rain, suit jacket slung over his shoulder. The city hums quietly, unaware of its own small victories. He looks up. The clouds part just enough for a sliver of light to break through. For the first time, his reflection in the puddle isn't fractured. Justice, his voiceover whispers, doesn't fix what was broken. It just stops the bleeding. He turns away, footsteps fading into the quiet rhythm of peace earned, not given. Months later, the air feels different. Lighter, though not yet kind. Luke visits the correctional facility where Emily now serves a reduced sentence for her part in Crane's crimes. Through the glass, they share a silence more forgiving than words. "I kept thinking it was your money that ruined us," she says softly. "But it wasn't the money, it was our silence." Luke presses his hand against the glass. She mirrors it. "Then we stop being silent," he says. The guard's voice calls time. As she's led away, Luke watches her go, not as punishment, but as the first step toward peace. Luke's apartment no longer looks like a war room. The walls are bare, the air still. He sits at his desk, drafting the charter for a new foundation. The Hart Scholarship Fund, for students whose futures were stolen by the greed of others. Maya smiles across the table, reading over his proposal. "Redemption looks good on you," she says. Luke grins faintly. It's lighter than revenge. The sunlight through the window catches the edges of the typed words, for Emily and for silence broken. In the evidence vault of the courthouse, the dress now lies sealed in a clear case. Dust motes swirl in the thin shafts of light cutting through the blinds. It no longer glows. It absorbs. The tag reads simply, Exhibit A. To most, it's just fabric. To Luke, it's every decision, every scar, every truth uncovered. A custodian passes, unaware of the history he's sweeping around. The camera lingers, the hum of the fluorescent light fading into silence. Years later, Luke walks across the quad of a new university building. The plaque beside the door reads, Hart Institute for Resilient Futures. Students laugh in the distance. The sound foreign, but well. He stops to watch a young man fix a torn banner, smiling as the boy mutters, Guess I'll stitch it myself. Luke chuckles under his breath, eyes glistening. The past doesn't haunt him anymore. It teaches him. Night falls. Inside an empty museum wing, a mannequin stands beneath a single spotlight, the dress displayed behind glass. Its gold faded into soft bronze. A small placard reads, The Price of Silence. Luke's voice narrates quietly over the final shot. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing not to carry what's already been paid for. The camera pans slowly away from the mannequin, the light dimming until only the outline remains. Fade to black.